The story of how I found my way to Dr. Gulani's stems from actually a dry eye issue. I had for 30 years been a director of sales for a telecom company where looking at computer screens and designing networks was very important to me, so my eyesight began to deteriorate. And over the last 10 years, I've been to multiple doctors, of which have prescribed more glasses and more contacts. So I was actually out with a friend and I was complaining about my dry eyes, and this friend of mine, a former patient of Dr. Gulani's, had said to me, well, you need to go to the world-renowned Jacksonville guru, Dr. Gulani. And I'm like, who's Dr. Gulani? And she said, well, he is phenomenal. You must go to him. He will correct your dry eye problems. So I went home and I looked up the Vision Institute and I began to do my research. And I called and got an appointment rather quickly. Went back to my original doctors because he wanted to see the records. And I found myself in Dr. Gulani's office about a week and a half later. I sat down with one of his incredibly talented testing people, and she put me through more tests than I've ever been through before. And I discovered that not only did I have dry eye issues, but I also had astigmatism, something that no one had ever mentioned to me in 10 years. I had floaters, which I obviously was aware of, and I had some serious eye problems. On top of that, the word cataract came into my vocabulary, which had never been mentioned by any previous doctor as well. So I began a process, and over a 1-month period, I got the dry eye procedure, hugely corrected that problem, scheduled 2 cataract surgeries, and now I have 20/20 vision. And the thing that completely astounds me more than anything else is that over the last 10 years, going to the same eye place for about 8 of those years, and to a professional university type physician the last 2 years, no one had told me anything about having cataracts, having astigmatism, or even suggesting that there was a possible solution to correct these things. So I am deeply indebted, and I see the widespread world that finds its way on the doorstep of Dr. Gulani's office, because I've been to many office visits and I know people all over the world are coming, and obviously they're hearing about him through referrals, through internet interaction, Facebook, those sorts of things. But what I'm so concerned about, and what I hope to make a difference somewhere down the line, is that this needs to be a cultural change. We need to be able to feel confident that we can go to any eye doctor and completely be told what is our problem with our eyes and what our possible solutions might be. And only because of a referral from a friend and a past patient was I able to find that at Dr. Gulani's office. And I hope all of the world will know about Dr. Gulani one day. And I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that cultural change does occur, because it's incredibly wonderful to be able to see with the eyes that I had when I was 20 years old, and to be treated respectfully and wonderfully and warmly and just humanly, which is another thing that I have not experienced with other doctors that do the cookie cutter kind of approach. So kudos to Dr. Gulani and his staff, and I hope everybody on the universe and on the planet finds their way to this doorstep, because it's a good doorstep to land on. Hello, Dr. Gulani. As you know, I found my way to your doorstep in a very unusual way, in that I had a specific problem, and it was dry eye. And I thought that was my only problem, other than the fact that I couldn't see. But having gone to many professionals for the last 10 years and continuing to get more eyeglasses and more contacts, I felt that was the way of life as it was. So when I came to you, you indicated that I not only had dry eye issues, but that I had astigmatism and that I had cataracts. And I was astounded because I had been to professionals for 10 years that never mentioned those words to me. So my question to you is, why do you feel that the general population of doctors, and I'm talking about highly educated, plaques on the wall like you, associated with universities, those are the types of professionals I've been to, why do you feel they're not being thorough in their diagnosis and their communication back to the patients?
I feel they are being thorough, and in all due respect to all doctors, I believe they do the best they can in the patient's best interest. But what I teach and talk about, Shiva, just like in your cases, I think doctors need to dig deeper into what the patients deserve. That's what I think is the watershed line, as opposed to doing only what they feel comfortable with. For example, telling someone as dynamic as you with your kind of work and travel to live with the vision you had of 20/60 minus with bad night vision, and you were complaining but looks like no one listened just because it went into a prototype. Let's give her glasses, she's not that bad, and let's call her back next year. Nothing wrong with that. That is by the book. But then I think a lot depends on the patient's situation, and a doctor has to rise up to the situation. Also, it is kind of not a concern, but it is a higher risk if you think about it, to operate on someone like you, because you're not really complaining. You don't even know what to complain. You're just backed out of driving, like you told me at night time. You took the back seat in life. You started going back, being such a dynamic person. And today, I can ask you in return, because these are the ways I gauge my own self, is, was I right? So was I right in telling you, proceed for your surgery, even though you had not felt you were that bad or were told that bad?
Absolutely, my life has completely changed, and I can drive at night, and I'm not seeing halos. And I drove myself and another friend from spin class last night, and I felt comfortable because I didn't feel as though I was safe before. But still, and with all due respect to your analysis of other doctors and what they can and cannot do and what have you, in my particular case, my issue is that I was not told I had issues beyond knowing that I had dry eye. I was not told that I had the issues, and I was not told that there were possible solutions to those issues other than live with it, wear your glasses, increase your prescription levels on your contacts. And that's what really is at the root of this. I feel as a human being on this planet that when I go to a doctor, I expect a level of trust. I want to know the good, the bad, and the ugly. Because if I know the good, the bad, and the ugly, I can deal with the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I think I'm not alone in that thinking. So I want to know what my options are. And whether that particular eye professional is not skilled or doesn't want to take on a surgery or doesn't want to take into consideration a person's lifestyle or the fact that they're hiding from the world because they can no longer see, I feel they have an obligation. And I think of that as very much a cultural change that needs to occur. And I, again, propose to you, and I understand with regard to your respect for other professionals in your business, and there's that camaraderie that all doctors have, and I totally appreciate that. Why, as human beings that live for seeing and experiencing, why are we being clipped off and not told and not steered, and why isn't this the standard of today? Why? Why are people, as I've heard and read through your websites, going to top educational facilities that are state-of-the-art facilities when it comes to your eyes, and going through surgeries and having botched things happen to them, and being told that there's no solution and don't you dare try anything else, and then they find their way to your doorstep? Why is that occurring?
Shiva, that's a great question. Actually, you're preaching to the choir. I truly believe that as doctors, it is our responsibility to not only diagnose but also show you the right path, and then of course perform on that path because you trust your doctor. So it's very, very important. Yes, I do believe the holistic approach is what I've been teaching for the last 20 years to colleagues, and I think that is the future, where someone like you comes in, even though you came in for dry eyes, which we corrected, but you look at everything else going on with you, with your eyes at least. Because that's our profession, it's our specialty, and that's where you trust me. Is looked at your eyes and your astigmatism, your night vision's down, your color vision's poor, you are affected in your lifestyle. And what happened is, which is amazing with all of you who come to me, you already done your research, and then you kind of connect with the questions as we were going. And of course it becomes a high challenge to correct somebody who's not blind, seeing good enough, and to take them to perfection. That's a very thin line, as you know. So that may be another reason why many doctors don't venture in this arena, because if any mistake is made, the patient wasn't really complaining, and now you have them seeing very poorly. But keeping the safety of the patient always as the prime concern, I still believe doctors need to escalate to that level where we have to enhance your vision to a point, because your vision decides your rest of your life in your ways. So I totally agree. The holistic approach to vision, that's why I call it art. I don't believe in advertising technologies and hyping things or deals, discounts. I believe that undermines the medical arena, and also the trust between patient and doctor, which is inherently important for this foundation to move forward. If there's no trust, a doctor cannot perform, a patient will not succeed. I believe that very thoroughly. I'm blessed, as you've seen even today, patients coming from all over, from renowned universities all over the world, from very, very amazing surgeons actually. But I think they were given up on because I believe the doctor has to go the extra mile to see what else the patient can deserve, as opposed to going, this is what I know, and that's the end of it. So I believe, to answer that part of your question, it is my lifetime endeavor to encourage eye surgeons to break down complexities into simple algorithms and correct everybody. So even these patients you saw recently leaving, flying back, they are called complex. I don't like the word complex. I call it unique. Let's design the vision. So 3 kinds of patients. One is patients like you who've not had previous surgery. Can we take you all to perfection? Second category of patients who've had surgery somewhere and it's not worked, can we correct them? Third category of patients who've had outcomes that are not up to their expectations. Can we take them to the end zone? Pick up the baton. So that's truly what I teach. So every word of yours actually reverberates with everything I think. And it's a pleasure sharing time with you, Sheba. Like all my patients, spending this time with you all after surgery for me is great, because I get to learn. Could I become any more better in the way I explain things, in the way I do things, in the way I perform, in the way I think, and then you all confirm your appreciation, if I may. It fuels my endeavor.
Well, I appreciate it, and I also agree with all of those things that you just said, because those do represent the scenarios that occur. But again, there is that scenario of the person that hasn't been told, and I equate it to having had thyroid cancer and going to a regular doctor who merely in a regular checkup felt my throat and immediately referred me to an endocrinologist, which was a throat specialist. And that led to a surgery and removal of a thyroid, and I'm cancer free and everything's wonderful. My expectation is, if I go to an eye professional, that I am told what my options are, what my issues are, whether they're skilled or experienced enough to fix them. I'm not asking for that.
Agree.
I'm only asking for the correct diagnosis,
give me the status,
correct
tell me
information,
what to do.
And then I can proceed with researching and trying to find a specialist like I've found you. So that very much to me, again, you're going to hear that word a lot coming out of my mouth, is a cultural change that really needs to occur. And that really has very little to do with your talent. Of course, I'm very grateful for that talent, and I've been a recipient of it. It has to do with a level that, as a human being on the planet, we all deserve the right to know. And we look to our doctor for that. And I find it very ironic that there are things like HIPAA rules where are out there to protect the patient, so their medical information is not shared with others. But we go to a doctor who we have a one-on-one relationship with, human to human, and we're not being told in totality what our issues are, or maybe it's that you've got to be a certain age before we start to tell you. I'm stupid. I didn't know everybody got cataracts, but now I know. And now I know there's a solution. And at 59, I have 20/20 vision because I came for dry eye issues. Who would have ever guessed it? So I'm grateful. I am hoping that culturally speaking, the world gets the message out so that when you see a news person on Good Morning America, for example, last Sunday, I saw it. His co-anchors were bragging about the new glasses that he had gotten. Maybe that person doesn't know that there is another option out there available to them. And I would think as an anchor, a newscaster, for example, you would want to be able to see those cue cards and be able to look and communicate on that written piece of paper. So I am all about let's change this culture, and let's make doctors accountable across the board to tell all of their patients what potentially is coming down the pike, what is wrong with their eyesight, and perhaps there are other avenues to go to get correction.
Absolutely, Shiva. Again, it's been an honor. You trusted me, and it's been a real pleasure bringing you to where I wanted you. And surely we'll keep that movement going.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you so much.